Live. Hey, everybody, welcome to another effing podcast. I am your boy from the Commonwealth, home of Plymouth Rock and lobster rolls. It's the JFP James from Boston.
And it's me, your Canadian hero, Canada. I'm glad to finally have Adrian Adonis' daughter here. Welcome, Angie. We've been talking back and forth on Messenger, and we're so glad to finally have you here. Welcome to the flower shop.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I'm at work today, but I'm getting things brought to me to sign off on, so I'm sorry about that.
No worries at all. No worries at all.
We're just going to jump right into it. Can you talk a little bit about how Vince McMahon screwed your dad out of $10,000?
Well, I think it's a little bit more than that. He was supposed to, with his head shaved, get a bonus for that. He was supposed to take WrestleMania 3. Roddy was retiring. They came to him, Roddy and Vince, and Dad said, okay, yeah, I can do that, with the verbal agreement that he was going to be at WrestleMania 4 and take that. Later on, WrestleMania 3 happened. Later on, Vince said, yeah, I'm not going to do that. My dad said, okay, then I'm not going to wrestle for you. He said, well, you're under contract. You wrestle anywhere else, I'm going to sue you. So my dad didn't work for 6 months.
Oh, wow.
So how long was his contract remaining for?
Just from the end of WrestleMania 3 when he stopped there until he was at home for 6 months without working.
So it was just he had 6 months left on his contract, pretty much.
I'm sorry?
He had 6 months left on his contract?
Yes. He was at home 6 months. He didn't work anywhere. Then when he went back to work, I remember him coming home. He was at home again. He was only gone a short while then. Then when he came home, he had broke his ankle.
Oof.
Then he went to Japan for a while, was really training, working out. I didn't get to see him. My mom did. She drove down to LA, saw him, stayed the night down there, and that was 2 weeks before the accident. He was just going to wrestle in Japan for 3 to 4 months out of the year, and that was it. That's what his plan was. He went up to, it's my understanding, he went up there as a favor to the Wild Man.
Very cool. What was it a hard transition? Because I know he dropped out of school and became a professional football player in Canada. Was there a hard transition between going from professional football to becoming a professional wrestler?
Honestly, I didn't know he was I didn't know he was in football until just recently.
Oh, okay.
I knew he played football. I knew he played baseball in high school. I knew he wrestled in high school because I have the trophies and some of the certificates. When my dad had passed away, we didn't talk about him.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Oh, my mom would just break down. We didn't talk about him. 4 years later, she got remarried to a great guy. He recently passed. Well, in 2018, he passed. And that's kind of when I started looking in about my dad. I had no idea how big he was in wrestling, honestly. Had no idea.
Wow.
It's been kind of a journey and an adventure, kind of finding all these things out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait a second. So what team I'm from Canada. I'm a big CFL fan. What team did he play for?
Okay, I'm probably going to mispronounce it. Is it Calgary?
Calgary.
Okay.
Oh, he played for the Stampeders.
So he was a defensive lineman. And that's just really odd because my son, he's 10, but he's playing football and he's a defensive lineman. And then I just found out. And he looks a lot like him, has a lot of the same mannerisms as he does.
Oh, wow.
And didn't you tell me in chat that he wants to be a professional wrestler? You're like, no?
Yes. He has the mouth. They share a lot.
But he's going to do what he wants eventually, right? There's eventually you're going to have to say.
He'll do what he wants anyway. That's just how two of my children are like that. I said it's inherited.
Let's talk about the relationship between him and Roddy Piper. How good of friends were they together?
They were really good friends. I remember hearing stories that when they first started out, they went to Bakersfield California, and that's where he had met my mom. Roddy actually dated my aunt, her sister, for a little bit.
Wow.
My grandpa, my mother's family were into ranching, and so my grandparents had cattle. So my grandpa made Roddy go out there and wrestle a cow down to the ground. And I met him at the reception of the funeral service. He was sitting off by himself. He just stared at me for a long time. So I just ended, I was 8. I was like kind of walked away like, whoa, that guy's really strange, just staring at me. Watching some YouTube videos and hearing what he had to say about being at the service, giving the eulogy. He never went to another funeral after that. And then, of course, he said he got a letter from the priest that was in the back of the ambulance with my dad. And I always wanted to try to get in contact with him and just to see what it had said. And I just, I was really, when he had passed, I was really disappointed I didn't act sooner on it. So they really.
Let's talk a bit about. We talked a little bit about the paranormal. It's our other podcast, Wrestling with the Paranormal. We'll just give a little bit of crossover here. Roddy Piper saw your dad in ghost form at his house.
I saw that on there, and I guess because we didn't talk about him. It's. And I'm kind of a smart ass, as I've said, wonder why he didn't come and see his kids. Because, of course you see the Facebook videos, and of course me, I was kind of a troll. So I kind of put, I kind of said that, but then I was like, that's kind of odd. Maybe because we moved around a lot. I know my mom.
Didn't you tell me on chat that you felt some sort of presence?
It was either right before the funeral or right after the funeral. We lived in a condo when he had passed, but we were in the transition of moving to a different place, a different house. We were in the condo. I was upstairs in my room. It was really quiet. I didn't have my TV on. I remember just laying on the floor, and I could swear heard him say, "Hey," like kind of the yelling, like, "Hey."
Like an audible.
Yes. And you look around, I'm like, what? A couple days later, I said something to my mom and was told, quit eavesdropping on my conversations. Just, you need to stop it now. So I've always thought that was kind of odd that, I never heard her conversation about that. I didn't hear her say anything.
So your mom must have heard an audible voice as well.
That's my thought on there. And then I know that my sister would walk around. My sister was 2. As she, my dad was gone a lot. So she had a toy phone, and she was constantly on it saying, Daddy. My mom ended up taking her to counseling. I mean, she was about 3 or 4 and still doing it. Or she was 2 when he passed, so she was about 3 or 4, yeah. And she was still doing it, walking around. So it's just kind of weird. And then we went to another one. We went to New Orleans, my husband and I did. And I always wanted to get my palm read, so I was at Marie Laveau's. Went in by myself, and the guy who was doing it had told me that, I've sensed a strong presence of a male, always with you, kind of watching out. Were you closer? I said, yeah, my dad had passed. So your mom kind of has your sister kind of has your mom. I said, they're very close. He goes, well, you guys were very close. I just sensed this really strong presence. So I thought that was a little eerie as well, that he came right off the bat that had said that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Whose idea was it to give Piper his leather jacket?
That I don't know. I didn't really know what the leather jacket. I was like, no, that's not his, because we had the one where it's the New York emblem is on the back.
Yeah.
So all this time I'm thinking that until I, like I said, just started kind of looking into things. That's where I noticed that I was like, oh, he had 2 leather jackets on there. As for doing the flamboyant image, I'm really not sure if that was, you hear it's punishment from Vince.
And how did you feel about that as a kid, watching the sort of your dad play the?
They didn't. This is something else I found out too. I'm like, why don't I know this stuff? I remember the leather. I remember the belt on there. There's a picture of me with his belt with Murdoch. And then all of a sudden he has Christmas bows in a bag when he came back from Japan. He has purple and pink wrestling trunks. He has purple boots. I'm like, what in the world? blonde hair.
See, I feel your dad was the best when he was adorable Adrian Adonis.
Yeah.
Well, my aunt said he loved it.
It was amazing.
My aunt said he loved it because the more people hated him, because he was kind of a troll, the more people hated him. And
it was such a fun gimmick.
Have you seen the one where he's with Pat Patterson in an interview?
You did. You showed me that with the banana.
Yes, I was all this time. I remember them. If you were a kid, as we were, if you shut up, you could hear a lot of things. Unlike my children today that don't have that concept. So they were talking about a banana, and I remember my dad saying, "Well, Vince was really, really pissed off." So here I come, and I find, why was Vince pissed? Oh, I got him a singing banana telegram, and he was singing to him, and he was upset. I just recently saw the It clip, and I go, I wonder if that was it. That had to be it. I was like, oh my gosh. And there's the two of them. That just cracked me up. I was like, that is horrible.
That's the one where Pat Patterson's talking French in the beginning, right?
Yes, there's two of them. So one of them, with the veil on, and he's asking him if they're pussy willow flowers. And then he says, he goes, do you know what that is? And Pat goes, no, what? He goes, toot, toot, it's the ferry boat. And he gets up and leaves. He kisses his own hand. Then the other one, he says, oh, I love fruit. And he's doing some questionable things with a banana. So I was like,
Pat Patterson must have loved it because he was gay. So he must have loved it.
Yeah, you could just see Pat's eyes like, oh my gosh, I shook my head. I was like, that's kind of, and my mother had always said it was purely unscripted. I mean, they came up with the stuff on their own.
Yeah, definitely not like it's now where everything is scripted to a T.
Yeah, I don't know. I think and it's so weird to watch. I was watching last night the clip with him and Dick Murdoch where they went to New York and then they went to Texas. And during that time, Murdoch had his wedding. So I have some pictures of where they were taping, and I didn't know that. I'm watching it. I realized I was like, oh, wow. But him messing with people on the streets where he's telling the lady, get back in the house, just shut up and get back in the house. And then there's Uncle Joe on the street, and he was the world champion for street cap wrestling. And then he does a cartwheel. I was like, oh my God, my sister and I do random things like that. I kind of have to be a little bit restrained now and can't do that for work reasons, but I definitely think it's hereditary. So a lot of the times getting in trouble younger, it was not our fault. It was in our genes.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes a special person to be a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. I remember going to a match in Anaheim. And I remember it was so crazy. The fans were so crazy there. And Jimmy came out and asked my mom for some lipstick. And I was like, why does he need your lipstick? And it wasn't the right shade or something, but he came out and he had Jimmy tell my mom it wasn't the right shade. And I said, why does he care about the right shade? Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. And then I don't know. I still guess I didn't put it together till later. I was like, why can't I remember this stuff? Why can't I remember, forever he wrestled. So why didn't I know more? And then I was listening to a podcast, and I'm going to say his name wrong. It was a sports writer from Japan. It starts with is it Fumi? Anyway, he came out when I was younger, and I was telling my husband, I said, I don't know, I remember a Japanese writer came out, stayed with us, took pictures. I said, but I don't remember really anything else. I get word from a cousin, hey, you might want to get on Twitter. I said, I don't have Twitter. I don't have Instagram. You need to get on it. I get on there, and there's a picture of my dad and I in a pool, and I go, I remember that house. I was about 5. The Japanese sports writer wrote it, and then he had a podcast. He said he knew my mom, which was really odd to me. He knew my mom's name right off the bat. They said they did not let their daughter watch wrestling. Especially his adorable image. They didn't let. I said that explains so much.
Yeah, kind of a missing time frame when you think about it.
Yes. I mean, I remember I had a cousin, and she was telling me, we went to a barbecue, and she's told me that my dad was traveling with a bunch of women, and they were like doing his hair. And my mom asking, I was like, well, who's it? She goes, oh, they're crazy. Just don't listen to them. And I said, okay, wrote it off. And I go, oh, after I watched this video of he's getting his hair and nails done. And I go, oh my God, that's what she was telling me about. And I said, and here I am. I was like, no, he's not. ask my mom. My mom just shines it off. So it's just so bizarre.
So was stuff from your dad stolen? I heard something about that.
After the wreck?
Yeah.
So it was the Wild Man's Ring guy. His name was Robbie James, I believe is the last name. He was a referee. He was a ring guy for the Wild Man. Wild Man kind of took him under his wing, and he worked for him. They took the Wild Man's briefcase that had all the gate money.
So he appeared at the wreckage and took the stuff?
There was two vans. There was the van they were in ahead of them, and then there was a van behind. And they were in the wreck, and they went and they took all their stuff. They hid out the briefcase. Then they went back to the motel room, and because the motel manager had seen him with the wrestlers, let him in, and they robbed everything in the rooms. I don't know how my mom came to find out. I had actually forgot about that till I saw Sabu's interview. Who said that? I said, that's right, because I remember my mom saying, they finally caught him. He went back there, robbed him, but there was two people. One guy has passed. The other guy lives in St. Catharines.
How dark and how scumbag can you get? There's this wreckage, everyone's dead, and you think to steal all the belongings?
All the belongings.
Wow, it's just that's low.
Which I was just like, I don't really know, because my dad was still alive until he went to the hospital. But I mean, he had head trauma, he had a fractured back, he had a torn aorta, he had, torn aorta. I was surprised that he had made it actually to the hospital with that. The one Kelly twin, I said it was on impact. One of the other ones were face down.
What did they actually steal from your dad?
That I know it was money that he had on him. And all the personal belongings went there. They let him in the safe. The hotel managers let him in there. They used to have safes in the room or safes up at the front where you could keep your money and jewelry and all of that. But he had taken all that, but they caught him. There's a couple news articles that I found online recently that, he was sentenced. I don't know how long he was sentenced for. My aunt Cindy had told me that some other wrestlers had got a hold of him and the other guy, and they
probably beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, he was, and from what I've heard, he's still in St. Catharines and kind of still hiding low. But that would put him at 60 something now, because he was 30
probably an old man now.
Yeah, so it was. I mean, I just can't even imagine that. Here's a guy, the Wild Man that you work for, that took you in, and I wouldn't say like a son, but I mean, you're pretty close. You know the whole family, and you go and just take and do that. Hope it was worth it. I mean, that's.
Well, it sounds like he got his just desserts.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. And I remember feeling when I heard about the wreck, I just remember feeling really sad for the Wild Man's son, because he didn't have a mother, and then his father and I remember asking my mom, like, well, where's he going to live? I just remember feeling so bad for him. And then the other Kelly twin, we flew back to New York, my mom, my sister, and I, about 3 years later for my grandparents' anniversary. And we had dinner with the remaining Kelly twin, and all he had was a metal rod put in his leg. So, I mean, I can't imagine. I mean,
So was he the only survivor then?
Yes.
Wow. I can't imagine the guilt and all that stuff that comes up.
And I guess they were, from what I've heard, they were really close. Like, they were the twins that finished each other's sentences, that mirrored each other, very, very close. So I was like, that's got to be just.
So not only is his twin brother dead, everyone else is dead as well.
Yeah, and that's got to be. That I didn't know. I had always thought that the guy who had robbed them, that it was the same guy who called my mother that night. And then I'm on the Wild Man's group on Facebook, and I find out, no, it's Ricky Johnson, who was supposed to be in there with them, that wound up getting a ride with somebody else that was actually traveling with them wrestling. So that'd be The Rock's uncle.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So I just recently saw that. I was like, oh, wow. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, of course, my mom, think she was.
So it's Rocky Johnson's brother that stole the stuff.
Yes, yes. And I didn't even know. I didn't even know that. Of course, everybody knows who The Rock is. My son watches his shows and stuff, and I see this picture, and my dad has him like down. I mean, it's a pretty cool picture. It's like right in the middle of. I go, oh wow, he knew him, and I was like, oh wow, that was with him and what Dick Murdoch took from him. So I don't. It might sound pretty lame, but I was like, I really had no clue how big he was. I mean, I know. I was like, oh yeah, he wrestled. I got to meet, Cyndi Lauper, that I thought was just amazing. He got me a Pee Wee Herman signed Pee Wee Herman poster, and I just love Pee Wee Herman. I know now. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe. But I remember thinking I was the coolest kid ever because I had a Pee Wee Herman poster.
Well, Cyndi Lauper was huge at the time. Like,
she was super awesome with her pink hair and everything. Her and Lou Albano. I remember them. And I remember meeting Orton at the Fresno Hotel. It's all glass elevator, and I got in trouble because I was going up and down. We were waiting for Dad, and then there was a kid there, and he was like, "Oh, I hope Jimmy Hart doesn't come here." My mom's like, "Oh yeah," because I'm looking at my mom like, he's coming here. We have a room here, Jimmy's. They're all staying here. What is wrong with you? And then Dad came in, and we went to the gift shop, and people just swarmed it. They like shut it down so we could fix it. And I just remember I remember being very scared on that. But when he was home, We didn't see all the didn't see fans, didn't have any people who hated him yelling or anything like that. So it was, I guess you'd say, kind of sheltered, like didn't really realize that.
Well, that was a good thing about the Adorable gimmick, is that you could really just look like a normal person after you take the makeup and all that kind of stuff off, and just no one would even know.
That hair job was hideous. I don't know who did it. I don't know if he paid for that. That was pretty bad. I was like, oh my gosh, I just can't believe that would not fly today. That just cracks me up.
Well, Brutus the barber did him a favor by shaving it.
Yes, he did. And the picture, I was like, oh my gosh, people were saying, oh, he looks like Curly from the Three Stooges. And I laughed because that was one of his favorite shows. We used to watch that in black and white.
Oh, that's awesome. That's one of my favorite shows too.
Oh, I don't know. So there's just a lot of things. I was like, that's just.
What was your favorite match of your dad's?
I'd have to say, did you need me, Steph? No.
Do you want more fluid?
Yeah, go ahead and give another 500. Okay. So I would say, I just really like the stuff he did with Murdoch. I don't know. I really do. I really like what he did with him. Jesse Ventura, I was watching some of that. I don't know. Not really so much.
What were their tag team names in both of them? They were the Southeast or West Connection?
Yeah, I thought it was a Southwest Connection.
Yeah, Ventura was the East-West Connection, yes. And with Dick Murdoch, it was the North-South Connection.
Well, I saw that after he left WWF and he was in Japan, he wrestled somewhere with Murdoch again.
Yeah, he did.
So I was like, oh, wow. So I don't know. But then I see clips of Murdoch, and I was like, oh, my gosh, he's just rude and crude. I said, I love him. He's hilarious. So I can't imagine both of them together. That would.
Who are some of the boys that he traveled with?
Well, I know he was I found a lot of pictures that I've always seen him, but I just kind of looking on the back of them. There was, oh my gosh, is there a Humperdinck? He was friends
Oliver Humperdinck?
Yes, there's a bunch of pictures of him and Humperdinck together in when we lived in Minnesota. But Morocco, Orton, I recently, I missed his call. I was at work and I have a message, but Ken Patera, they used to travel together.
Oh, cool.
And I had a picture of Ken as well.
Ken Patera called you to?
Yes. He did actually. Was it Friday? Friday. I'm on like a 5-day straight, so all my days kind of run together. But he left a message. I said, I really want to talk to him. Orton, Piper, Orton. From what I've heard, he got. I mean, I know there's a few that did not like him, and I kind of read some of those of the stories. I was like, well, yeah, I kind of see him being Okay. But for the most part, I mean, those guys.
Did you see online there was someone who had to fight with your dad backstage?
I saw that Spivey, and they didn't really like that.
Yes.
They didn't really like that when it was like the 4th interview, and I said, Jesus Christ, he's been gone for 30 plus years. Is this your only claim to fame? And I mean, I'm not okay. I'm very kind of smart aleck, but I was like, I don't remember him having the suture. I mean, I'm not saying it didn't happen at all because yeah, it did. You need me? Yeah, I have a picture waiting for you. Okay, I'll be right there. So I don't remember it. It was, of course, I was 6, 7 during that time. I don't remember him coming home with sutures, but of course I wasn't, he's on the road. So I don't really know, but I've watched the clips on the other people that were there that saw that. And I was like, well.
So I didn't actually watch it. Was Spivey talking shit about your dad?
From what I've heard from Orton is Dad was bitching at a ref and Spivey thought it was him. And so they were back and forth at each other. And then my dad went to go fight him and Spivey threw a hook or he went to leg dive, bomb him, and they got into their altercation. And I guess from my understanding, Spivey was kind of let go after that, which I was like,
that makes sense because I didn't.
I was like, guys are
Spivey just disappeared after that.
Yeah, and so I was like, guys are gonna fight. Like I would just, I don't know, say stay away from each other, but.
So that would make sense why he's talking shit now because it cost him his career.
Well, yeah, and that's what I asked because I was like, really, you said this like how long ago? Because when was this? Like mid 90s. I saw it or I read about it, and it was on Funk's page. And my mom always said that Dory Funk and Dad had a lot of respect for him, and they were close. But he had a page or something, and it was on there. I guess the one though that really agitated my mom throughout the whole thing is Dad and Hogan were really close. They started out in Japan together.
Wow. Yeah.
When they were younger, they kind of came up when they first started out. They kind of came up with that. And when Dad passed away, Hogan didn't call. Hogan didn't send flowers. Didn't send a card.
Wow.
Vince didn't either. But my mom was like, whatever. But Hogan, that was really surprising. So then to hear kind of things of like Hogan, oh, I miss my boy AD. If you did, then why didn't you say something? Were you too busy ass kissing Vince? Or
yeah,
what was it?
Yeah, because they were both in AWA at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was one. But I mean, he was him and Chavo Guerrero were friends.
Senior.
Yes. Yeah. they were friends. I was trying to think of who else. There's quite a. I don't really know most of them on there because I don't. Like I said, I don't really follow wrestling. I catch a few things, but I mean, I really don't. I haven't followed it.
So you've been kind of out of the loop for all this time with wrestling.
Yes, we were in. My mom and stepdad, we ranched, so we up at 4:00 in the morning moving cows, and so that's kind of what we were at. I mean, my mom's still in Oklahoma.
Do you have to go out for a bit here?
No, I have no. I have a patient, but it's okay.
So want to get into this? Your dad in the WWE Hall of Fame, like. I think that would be.
I don't know why I don't know why he's not. I see some of the people. I'm like, who is this? Like, a lot of them. I'm like, I don't. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude or belittle anybody, but I'm like, this okay. So that would be nice. That would be very nice.
Murdoch's not in, is he?
I don't think he is.
That I don't. I don't think he will. I mean, I don't know. Maybe from today's standards, maybe like, the homosexual gimmick. Maybe because. The way my dad left with Vince, maybe because my mom had filed suit against Vince because he lied about the dolls.
That's probably what it is. It's the suit.
Yeah. Yet my mom gets a royalty check quarterly for like $13. And I said, yeah.
$13.
I was like, take care of your mailbox money. She just shook her head. She was like, I said, no. I said, they have more trading cards. I said, they have trading cards from in Japan. The newest one was released in 1998.
And he's still on the network to this day.
Yes. Pay-per-view, WrestleMania 3, video games. I said, this is insane. So my mom's like, well, she just, go ahead, you deal with it, or tells my sister to. My sister's busy. She has twins that are 2 and a 5-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I couldn't do it again. There's no way. And then I live in Colorado, so that seems like all I do is working right now with the COVID.
Are you aware of AEW at all?
No.
So they are a new upstart company, and they are very, very competitive, and they have quite a following. And maybe one day they will have a Hall of Fame and put that in, because
that would be nice. I mean, I just think that he should get his. I mean, I think he actually did wrestle. I mean, some of the people I see today, I'm just saying it's more theatrics and dramatics and acting. I'm not saying he didn't. I'm not saying he didn't carry on with the dramatics or the acting, because it
was great though.
I don't know.
My childhood is better because of your dad.
Yeah.
I stick it. So some of the things they said and did, I was like, that is hilarious. But I mean, I just think that he did a lot with it. He was one of the people that made it what it was, that set the standard, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of my question.
So do you remember being at WrestleMania 3?
Oh, is there more? Oh gosh, just time to go. No, we did not go. We were at home. We didn't. I remember going to 2 matches, and that was in Anaheim.
So you weren't invited, or you just weren't allowed, or?
My mom said the fans were super crazy and would throw things and egg her car, and it was just crazy.
That crowd was huge.
Yeah, that was enormous.
Yeah, we didn't. I was 7. We didn't go. I know she was very worried with people finding out where he was buried and desecrating that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a big fear of hers. So no, cancel. And so she kind of kept it private on, it was just, we didn't, I mean, like I said, we went a couple times. Now she used to before, maybe when I was younger, or like before she had me, they were married about 2-3 years before she had me. And so she lived in Portland with them. She lived in Minnesota with them. She lived in Amarillo. Okay. Yeah. What is it? Okay.
A kid, I think.
Okay. So she said that, she's always said that fans were just crazy. They had to get security for their car. Fans tried to trash their car, throwing rocks, just absolutely nuts.
And this was when wrestling was still believed to be real, and there was no.
Yes. Now, I thought it was real when I was little. I remember getting in a fight with a little boy in class because he told me that it was fake, and I told him no, it was real, because they were wrestling. And then I went home. I was like, well, I remember telling my dad, well, I told him that it was real, and he goes, no, it's fake. Thanks. So,
yeah, that fake word is deadly.
But no, I don't know. I don't know. It's just so weird to go back and think like, wow, my sister, it just explains a lot. I said my sister and I just, I have a mouth like a sailor. My sister does too. My sister's a teacher, school counselor. And our mouths quick-witted, just to come right back at it, just to do some of the things he did. And that was him. That was him normally. He was like that. So just to amplify it and carry on, I was just like, wow, it just cracks me up. I just can't believe it. So I'm very grateful for those videos to be able to go back and see. And it's just really strange. I didn't know. All this time, I have a daughter named Adrian. She's my oldest. And we call her 8. She's left-handed too. So we thought that was really strange.
Do you call her adorable one?
Not that. She's my mini me. So no. No. She love her to death. She's left-handed, but we call her 80. We've always called her 80.
Yeah.
And then I watched this video where Piper's calling my dad 80. And I go, what? He used to call him, they called him 80, so had no clue. So there's just little things that my kids do or my sister and I do, and my dad did this stuff. Like my mom had this lamp, and it was like a silhouette of a naked lady, and she's on all fours with her leg lifted up, and that held the ball. And it was just it was all black, and it held the light bulb on her foot. So my dad would go and get moss from her plants and super glue it between her legs for pubic hair, and my mom would get so mad. And I would laugh so hard. And he's like, hey, Angie, look. And of course, I'm cracking up laughing. I think it's just funny. And my mom's so mad. She's yelling at him, don't be doing that. Or he would wear, which I heard, that I did not see this personally, but I have heard this from my mother and my aunt. He would wear to the gym super short shorts with no underwear, and then things would fall out as he's squatting. Hey, look at my form. Is it really good or not? And, my Bob said that they would, which I did see this, and I had asked her before. There was a rumor that I saw that they would take nude pictures of himself, and then of course back in the day we didn't have this awesome thing where you can order online or whatever. Yeah. Take the film and you go pick it up, and there's pictures of, I guess, the original D pic. And so there they are, and just to get a kick out of somebody. So I was like, oh.
It sounds like your dad was a real practical joker.
Yes, and he would do things to mess with people. Like my one aunt had a boyfriend, I guess, like common law husband, and he, I guess you would say, like smoked himself stupid. Not the brightest. He'd come over to do odd jobs, and he came over to clean the garage, and this was at the condo right before that. Well, I say right before. I don't really have a time frame of when before. It was at the condo, and my mom and dad had all these like wines from Japan. So it'd have like the snake and walnuts and berries in it, and my mom's like, I'm not drinking that. So it was just more for show. So his name was JR. So JR's like, hey, can I have some of that? And he was really nasally and whiny voice. And my dad's like, no, you're going to get drunk. You just can't. So my dad had an aquarium, my mom and dad did, and it had like a big Oscar fish that you would feed goldfish to. So my dad goes and gets a goldfish and puts it in the cup and then pours the booze on it. And JR's like, there's a fish in here. And hell, if you're going to be so effing drunk already, I'm not giving you this. You're messed up already. Tries to take the drink back from him. And JR's like, no, I want it. But there's a fish. And then my mom's like, there's not a fish. But so they're messing with him. But I was like, oh my God. So
did he drink the fish?
No, but he was like drinking it and looking at it. And pretty soon the fish dies because it's swimming around. He would do things like that all the time. He would pick me up at the bus stop. He had like a pig nose on. And I was like, what is he doing? And so yeah, it was, people say, oh, how did it feel to grow up? We didn't, it was a totally different life at home for him. Like we didn't go out. I didn't know. I'd go to school and people would say, oh, your dad's a wrestler. Yeah. How do you know that? Like it was.
I saw him on TV last night.
Right. I was like, what? But yeah, so my husband, it was even crazy. It was crazy. My husband's like, yeah, I knew who he was. Like, I didn't know, like, that's great. Yeah. So maybe one day we have like a little boy who's 10, who's 5'2" already, 116 pounds, stocky, big, mouthy, likes to fight, likes to do boy stuff.
Yeah.
Well, don't let him wrestle for WWE. He can go wrestle it for AEW. They only wrestle twice a week, so.
His mouth doesn't get him in trouble. I told him that he was going to have to identify, which I was like, you're going to have to identify as a girl, bub. I call him bub, and then he goes, yeah. I go, we'll get you in weightlifting. We'll get you in softball. I said, he goes, as long as I can be a lesbian, we're A-okay. And I was like, you can't do that. He's 10. I'm like, you can't do that. So his mouth definitely.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, he was a huge part of my growing up. WrestleMania 3 was my first WrestleMania that I watched, and that was one of my top 3 matches was the hair versus hair match. I'm a huge Piper fan, so it was really good to see him and Roddy Piper really mix it up after building all that up with the flower shop and Piper's Pit. And them going.
And I'm really connected to your dad by Brutus the Barber Beefcake, because I became a huge Beefcake fan after that. It was just like, so I'm right connected with your dad as well, because that match was so special to me as well.
See, and I just recently, well, I wouldn't say recently, because we had tapes. We had all the tapes, because Titan Sports would send like we would get all of them. And just moving over the years, I couldn't tell you. So I actually paid to join the WWE network thing so I could watch some of the videos and some of the things with him. It's it's just crazy. We used to have all of his wrestling stuff, and it got lost in all the moves. And I'm like, that's just, I mean, I have a lot of stuff still. I have, I have his trophy of where he was at Madison Garden with Murdoch. It's a huge trophy that I think it was in 84.
Who has some of his championship belts that he had? Did he get to keep those? Or?
No, they didn't get to keep those. I have a picture. I had it. But yeah, it's just strange to see he still has. I mean, he's been gone a long time. A long time, and to see he still has like a fan base, and just it's really interesting.
Yeah, I think he's modeled. There's a lot of guys who have modeled their career after his flamboyant.
Oh, yeah, Gold Dust. There'd be no Gold Dust without your dad.
Yeah, there'd be no Gold Dust without him, without Adrian. That's for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah,
he was a groundbreaking character.
And I mean, I didn't really, I guess know he was, George the Animal Steel had sent cards and letters and stuff to my mom. I just thought that was really nice, just because I have all of those. I'm going to mispronounce the name. Is it Gagne?
Vern Gagne?
Oh yeah, Greg and Vern.
Greg, yeah, he sent cards and flowers and letters on there. So I was like, is there a Red Bastion?
Yeah.
He did. There was a Tom Touchstone. He was a bodybuilder. He was one that was, because my dad lost a lot of weight before the wreck. I didn't get to see him. My mom did though, because when she went to LA. So he had lost a lot, because he was the podcast is really interesting to listen to, from the Japanese sports writer. He was saying that, when he was in Japan, he went and called and said, "Hey, Keith," and my dad, "Who the hell is this?" Because they didn't go. Not a lot of people called him Keith. So he went up there. He's like, his attitude was changed. He had lost a lot of weight. He was looking good. He was excited to go back, and that was right before the accident.
Was interesting. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Was there hope that he would eventually get back to WWE through New Japan, or was he just finished with Vince?
I mean, I've always heard he was finished. I mean, my grandma Frankie, that she was the nicest, sweetest lady, which you were just like, he would tell people he's an orphan, and I'm like, what? She said that there was a certain place in hell for Vince McMahon. Yeah. She never cussed and never said anything bad about anybody. But I would like to, he said no. My mom always said no. But then you see people like, I saw a thing the other night, Piper was fired five times.
Yeah.
So it all seems to be about him going back on his deals.
Yeah.
And not doing what he's supposed to do.
And I was going to say, your dad could have, this is right around the time when WCW was starting up. So there was, if he hadn't died, there was a good chance he would have been working for WCW.
I mean, yeah, something on there. And I know he loved Japan. The fans loved him back there. So, he could have been, you never know, but that's, that was the plan, to go there and then come back. And he was back in the leather gimmick, because they didn't know him as the Adored One. They just had him in the.
Yeah, I don't think that would fly as well in Japan.
Oh yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't think so on there either. But he just, I don't know. There was just a lot. He could have, but as before he had passed, no, that wasn't talked about, because I know my mom was. She was a mess, but I mean, even still now she'll talk. Now she'll kind of say things. Well, oh, I know him, or, oh, we went here, or she'll have a little anecdote or a little story on there, but for the most part, she doesn't talk about either one.
Yeah.
Well, just 1 second, please.
It's really interesting, all this stuff. especially
Oh yeah.
Saw you, Medrol. I am okay. I'm sorry. It'll be nothing till this time, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness. So this is why you go and you wait for so long for healthcare. They're back there doing podcasts.
Yeah, everyone's doing wrestling podcasts back there.
Right. I'll be like, wait a minute. That's why we waited.
Oh, that's funny.
So, yeah, so I don't know. I mean, that's about it. I did purchase I was on Facebook at work. We didn't have, well, we probably had patience, but I was on Facebook, and all of a sudden it popped up about there's 80s wrestling group, and that group goes.
Oh, the big one, the large one, 80s wrestling.
Yeah, and they do like signings. So Orton was signing the other day, and so I got all there, and I was like, "Crap! I'm banned from both of my Facebook groups, if you can believe that. 30-day ban, so I couldn't say anything. So I had to like hack into my husband's account to say, "Hey, how do I order this?" So I go. Then I was like, "Dang it! I can't remember my PayPal password. I had to get a new PayPal." So then I sent the email and I said, "Hey, I said, hey, I'd like to, or I think, I don't remember how it started. I can't even remember yesterday. I put on there that, I met you before, Mr. Orton. I would like this one to sign by you." And I put, my dad is da 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 da. He goes, "Hey, I'd love to talk to you." So that would be somebody that I would really like to talk to, because I think he would have some great stories.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And he told me, he said, yeah, he was a good friend, and you can look at him and stop and think. And I'm like, you're probably filtering the story.
So yours is the Adrian Adonis page, right?
Updates.
The Facebook page, is that yours?
Oh, the tribute. There was a guy named Barry Hatchett, and he did that. He made my mom, my sister, and I, and himself the moderators, but he started that, and so he finds a lot of the pictures in there.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for Facebook or social media, I was like, there's so much stuff that I have found that I was like, that's really interesting. I didn't know that.
And it's really neat how me and you came into contact. It was just you added yourself to Facebook from AEW Nation, wasn't it?
Possibly. Is it where I was doing the petition?
Yeah, you just I forget how I met you, but it was great, and I'm so thankful that I met you.
Oh, I appreciate this. I didn't know. I was like, did I say something rude? Because
No, and you've been really insightful and great, and just that Hulk Hogan piece too. Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, no, I actually went on. Yeah, we do. It's in the top. It's Saw You, Medrol. It's in you have to push it down to mix it together.
The one I didn't look at.
You silly girl. So it should be like 2 meals.
Okay.
So we, I was on eBay, and somebody's selling, his signature. Like, that doesn't look like his signature. So I was like, how do you know it's his? And the guy messages me back. He's like, because it is. I said, okay. He goes, well, yours is probably fake. I said, mine's on my report card, because I actually have my report card.
Someone selling that signature.
And I'm not lying. I said, but whatever. So I don't know. So sometimes I do that on YouTube too. I'll find something and they'll say, what was it? I had on there that there was a homosexual or a gay pride website that dedicated everything to my dad, because he was really brave to come out of the closet. I was like, what?
That's crazy.
My mom, you just leave them alone. If that's what they want to be. I go, what? No.
Well, you know what? That's really cool, because he inspired people.
Yeah.
Well, what was it? He jumped out of the closet and there weren't any brooms behind him. I was like, oh my gosh.
That's crazy that your dad inspired people to come out of the
closet. It was really I'm like, to each their own. Hey, whatever you do you. It's fun. But then I saw that, I was like, Mom. But then some people, they'll have more insight. Like, what was it? He drowned. I mean, they'll tell you what it is, and I'm like, were you there? Like, no, you weren't. Well, how would you know? Well, I'd only know I was there. Not. at that particular point in time. But yeah, I don't know. It's some of the things that you read on there. I was like, what? Where did they get this from? So
Well, it doesn't help that anybody can edit anything on Wikipedia either. So
right, I saw that. Yeah, I see that. I said the things you can find on Wikipedia.
yeah.
But I hate to cut this short, but I guess I have.
It's not short. We've had you for 50 minutes. And
Oh, see, I'm just like procrastinating because I don't want to go chart.
It's been a pleasure.
So I appreciate you guys very much, and hopefully, I mean, he can get into.
Yeah, hopefully you can get into the Hall of Fame, and we'll see you at a WrestleMania soon.
Or somewhere. I was like, I do. I like to hear the stories about him. I said I really want to go to Newfoundland to see, where it had happened, and they used to go to Canada all the time. I'd hear stories of like my dad's cousins, Paul. I think his name was Paul. He would, talk about, yeah, you could go over there and you could drink later over here. And, it was coming from California to New York. My mom went out with a girlfriend that when we went back there to visit, and they were like, yeah, they didn't shut down until this time. And I don't know, but they'd go, oh, yeah, you could go over to Canada though, and, drink longer.
There's a Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. Have you contacted them at all?
No, I have not.
The Cauliflower Club.
Yeah.
I saw that, but I have not contacted. I really have not. I just kind of, like I said, I just kind of started venturing into it. I mean, I know it's been like 2 years, but it's like the more I just find more, all the time I'm finding more about him. I was like,
any way that your dad can be honored would be awesome.
Yeah.
That it would be. So they're doing a documentary on the Wild Man. I guess it's supposed to be out. Well, I guess with COVID, it kind of shut it down.
Yeah.
But my sister's on there talking about some things about it from my mom, because my mom won't talk about it really publicly. But I just think it's really interesting. It's kind of. I think they could Dark Side of the Ring. I was like that.
Yeah, there's a chance for that too.
Because it's really kind of, odd, like what would possess somebody to go and steal from dead people versus, what did they stay there until the ambulance came? Did they assess everybody? One guy driving by had told me, that he didn't see the wreck itself. He said, but he was there when EMS was coming, but he had got up and he had, he was walking around. I said, with a torn aorta, he could have torn it more. He could have, they just didn't do then. I mean, there's no way, especially with what they know now back then, or what they didn't know back then. There's no way. I mean, but it'd be interesting. So hopefully, but I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming.
I'll have to send you some of the older pictures that I've been finding on there.
And thank you for being a part of Effin' Wrestling as well.
Yes. Well, you guys have a super fantastic day. Let me know if you grow a third arm with that COVID shot.
I will. I definitely will. I'll tell you.
So you can close and we'll just finish up here. Thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you.
So this has been a great episode. I really enjoyed everything that she had to share with us. Let's just kind of wrap up here and just talk about what a little bit decompress here, I guess.
Yeah, he was a huge, he was bigger than life, and it was good to talk to someone who had another side of the story of Adrian, that we didn't see. We only saw the man in the ring. We got to witness him as a father and as a husband too. So,
and yeah, just learning that Hulk Hogan, who
was
Adrian Adonis, did it.
Yeah,
father to send
I'm kind of not surprised.
That's huge. I can't believe that. Wow.
So what do we want to talk about next week?
I think that we can. I'm just flabbergasted at this whole show here, so I can't even think about next week yet.
I'm thinking WrestleMania. We'll talk about WrestleMania 37, the ups, the downs, the highs and lows. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that would be a good because I think this is a great time to talk about WrestleMania past with that WrestleMania 3 match. I put it up on the group page.
Yeah,
Roddy Piper.
Piper.
Wow, this has been a great show. I just enjoy talking to her. Oh, you're wearing the Hot Rod shirt. That's awesome.
I got the Hot Rod shirt. Sweet.
So we both still we got some sync going on. We both put wrestling shirts on. We got our thing going on here.
All right, so we'll tune in next week, guys. Episode 7 will probably be about WrestleMania 37. Until then, I am your host, JFB, James from Boston.
And I'm your Canadian hero, Canada Dry.
See you next week.
See you next week.